You're back.
I am back.
All right. And you stupid Kiki promise you do not have coronavirus.
As far as I know, I'm good. Like 30% of people don't present symptoms at all. So
That's fantastic. All right. Well, this has been great. You ready to jump in?
Yeah,
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to Talk Heathen. Today is April 14th, 2020. It is
April
season
12th.
April 12th. I'm so sorry. April 12th, 2020. It is season 4, episode 15. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Bianca.
And we're in the same place.
We are. The sacrifices we make for you people.
I know that I have been quarantined away from humans for at least a month.
Oh yeah, at least.
Yeah. So we're giving this a shot. We're giving it a try. I'm really excited. I'm happy to see you, have other people in studio and not just be stuck with my roommate, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, Thomas. I love you. But wow, it has been one hell of a week. How about you? How have you been?
I've been good. I have been indulging my creative side this last week.
Okay.
I'm very excited. I'm going to be a really, really good at watercolor paints by the time that this is all over. That's what I'm telling myself.
All right. Have you been working on your Easter egg painting skills? Because today is Zombie Jesus Day.
That's true, although I prefer Pagan Sex Day.
Huh. I mean, you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I could dig that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to stand for something, not just against things. I stand for pagan sex.
I was just gonna say I'm for Cadbury cream eggs, but I think I like yours better.
I mean, it's not an either or situation.
Fair. True enough. Pagan sex and Cadbury cream eggs. All right. So it has been like a month. It's been
a couple of weeks. I know you had Andrew Torres on last week and Jim Barris the week before that. So I've got some tough acts to follow.
You know what? I can tell you right now from seeing in the live chat, you were missed. It is definitely good to have you back. So
Thank you.
Before we dive into calls, though, got a couple quick announcements.
Perfect.
Number one, we're going to be having a hard stop at 2:30 because there's a new episode of Godless Bitches.
Woo!
3.0.
Yeah, I will not be on that episode, but we do have a fabulous guest on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to check that out.
Absolutely. And then we were remoting from our individual homes. Last night we did an ACA hosts Quiplash.
Yes.
And you and I both made it to the final round.
We did, and then I fell on my face.
As did I. We got our butts whooped by Jen Aldrich. But we're going to be replaying that after the Atheist Experience today. So definitely stay tuned for that. It's
spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, huh? Ha! Well, that was probably not a great idea. All right.
If anybody knows Jen, though, they understand that this is inevitable.
Yeah, totally. So before we dive into things, also, happy birthday, Seth Andrews.
Woo! Got the whole day to celebrate, the whole country to celebrate his birthday with colored eggs and chocolate bunnies and shit.
Well, definitely. And since we have the platform, I do want to say happy birthday to my dad. And I want to say that I found out that not only am I going to be an uncle,
yay!
But I'm going to have a niece.
Oh, that's amazing!
I'm really excited about it.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
That's great.
Just so you know, Christine, Mom had to tell me. You didn't call me. Shame. As always, though, Talk Heathen is a production of the atheist community of Austin. It's your donations that keep us going and enables us to do what we've been doing, especially remotely. Our crew is all over the place from their homes, making sure that the audio, the video, the call screening, and the different programs that we had to take care of to make this happen are running. And it is a nightmare. I do want to say before we do anything, that's the crew cam. That's what it looks like over there. And it is just desolate because they are all staying home. They're all taking care of themselves and working remotely. In fact, I think that they are remotely actually adjusting everything on those computers.
Yeah, if you look close enough, it's all haunted.
Yeah, so that is really, really awesome. Thank you so much, you all. If you like what we do and you want to support us, consider going to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. That's patreon.com/talkheathen to me.
About 2/3 of the way through the episode, we will be thanking our top 5 patrons. That's probably going to come a little earlier than normal since we do have a hard stop at 2:30.
Yep.
So if you want to be one of those people we read out on live air, definitely submit your bid prior to then, because we always refresh the page to make sure we are up to date.
Definitely.
And if you do want to call in, we have a new number.
Yes, we do. Oh my gosh, that's right. We need theist callers.
Yes, we need theist callers because today is Zombie Jesus Day, and y'all clearly don't have anything better to do. Our new call-in number for now, because we're using a different system to screen calls, is 512-991-9242. That's 512-991-9242. That's also on all over Twitter, on the Talk Heathen Twitter, on Eric's, on mine. So if you need to double check that, it should be on the screen here as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Let's see what else. We've got the bit.ly for AEN merch. And also, I don't know about you, but I'm going to want to hop into the Discord after this.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We'll definitely throw up the Discord a little later so that we can link people to that. But I think it's time that we take some callers.
Let's jump in.
Yeah, let's. I think we're supposed to go to the host queue. It's not like I haven't been doing this for a couple weeks already, right? Let's talk to Norm. Nope.
Yep.
No, Kris. Kris.
They're all Kris, hi.
You're live with Eric and V. How are you doing? Kris, you are live with Eric and V. Going once, going twice. Kris is going back on mute. Let's take, well, Greg.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, you're live with Eric and V. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. What would you like to talk about today?
Near-death experiences. Because I have a view that on near-death experiences, the name near-death experiences blinds people to the fact of what is really going on. And when someone has a near-death experience, it's not the death part that's important. It's the coming back. It's the regaining of consciousness after being dead that creates the experience. If you didn't come back, I mean, if you weren't becoming conscious again, you wouldn't have the experience.
Okay. I'm not sure I know what you're wanting to talk about. What would you like to talk to us about with it?
Okay. Near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I can agree with you to an extent without understanding the science of it too much, that the only reason we can talk about having near-death experiences is because we come back from them. And the experience of your brain regaining consciousness and trying to figure out what just happened and creating a narrative is what creates the near-death experience in the first place. So I agree with that. Is that the point, or do we want to continue this conversation in a direction?
No. Well. No.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, though. I was, yeah.
Okay. No, that's all. That's basically all I wanted to say. It's not evidence of God or anything. It's just
Okay. No worries. Feel free to call back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I agree with it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good point. The only reason that we talk about near-death experiences, no one talks about a near-death experience who has actually died and not come back.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I also think that, post hoc, after you've gone through it, you can look back in, at your experience and go, hey, I'm going to attribute things to my preconceptions and fill that in. We've definitely seen that memories change over time. The more you access them and the more fantastical the stories become. Fishtails don't get smaller. They generally get bigger. So yeah, I definitely right there for sure.
Do you want to try Kris again? See if we can get them back on the line?
Sure. Kris, you're live with Eric and V.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hooray.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Thank you.
What would you like to talk about today?
Sorry. Hi. I've been binging you guys during quarantine and even before that for the past few months.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
What would you like to talk about?
Yes. Hello. Sorry. Well, as I was telling the call screener, it's gonna be my birthday in a couple of days. So of course my birthday seems a few days after, as you so lovingly called it, Zombie Jesus Day, was it?
Yeah. It's when Jesus came back from the dead 3 days after crucifixion in search for brains. Early happy birthday, Kris.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wanted to call because I did recently become an atheist officially, and I guess you can call it. For years, I had been like questioning, wanting to get different questions, calling myself a Christian, but finally getting that moment of like, this is starting to not make any sense. Actually, a little bit after I found the atheist experience.
What a coincidence.
Dig it. Well,
yeah, and the thing is, like, my grandmother and most of my family are extreme devout Baptist Christians.
Okay.
So it's what's it called? Sorry, I'm like at the same time getting the voices of, I'm guessing, that's people in the back.
Oh.
You can
That's interesting. So it sounds like you might be getting the crew audio sent over to you.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll get people to look at that.
Yeah, definitely.
But it says here, let me see if I can help you out with this. Just because it sounds like you're maybe getting a little distracted by the other voices on the line. You're saying you're talking with your grandma and you guys used to debate, but now that you're getting a little bit better, she is less eager to talk with you about these things.
For lack of a better term, yes. What is happening a lot of the time is that we'll start talking about, and I know you guys are like the nonprofit things that you can't really take a stance like on different political things, correct? Was that the right wording? I remember.
No, we can take stances on political things. We cannot tell you who to vote for.
Right. We just can't endorse people for.
Okay.
But generally, as a rule, the ACA has stayed safe about most things, just because any excuse somebody's going to have to report the atheist nonprofit is probably going to get picked up. So we're a little more careful than most.
Okay, I'm just being careful on that one, like you as well. So me and my grandmother are of course voting a very specific way, and we like to talk about different policies. But whenever we talk about those policies, she always pulls it back to religion of some sort. And it can be kind of annoying because I'll say something like, because I know that's what she does, I will occasionally cut her off at the pass and say, doesn't your Bible say that you're supposed to help these people or stuff like that? And then she'll make apologetics for it.
Yeah. Well, I've had many a conversation like that with religious family members as well. It's interesting how religion comes up as frequently. Once you start noticing it, it suddenly is much more prominent. I remember if you had asked me a couple of years ago, does your family talk about religion all of the time? Like, no, of course not, because I was also participating in that culture and that conversation. But leaving and coming back, I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys filter everything through this lens, and it's interesting to try and hold conversations about a topic that technically doesn't touch religion, and in political cases shouldn't, and just constantly have it be pulled back in that direction. So I totally feel you about that. Are you asking for maybe some tactics in terms of how to interact, or maybe whether you should, or what are next steps? What can we help you with?
Wait, see, with my grandma, I absolutely love her. She raised me for my entire life. All 23, going on 24 years of it now, close to it, I should say. And the thing is that she still gladly accepts me to a degree, where the moment that she brings up the religion, and then I start asking the questions back, like, but why this? She will then immediately shut me off. So I'm wondering, should I even bother trying to speak to her in her own terms, or should I just, whenever she tries to bring it up, just go, yeah, okay? Should I just do that? Just go, yeah, whatever.
Oh, it totally depends. I think from what it's sounding like, she is coming from a culture where she has the privilege to say that whenever she wants,
Mm-hmm.
and immediately jumps into wanting to shut down, not hearing what you want to hear. And while that can be productive on shows like this, it could also be destructive when you're talking to family, because you're stuck with them, you know? So I would say that it's going to be individual. You know your grandma a whole lot better than obviously we ever will. But if you think that holding on to that relationship is something that's worth doing, and say, hey, you know what? It sounds like you really don't want to talk about this, unless you want to talk at me, and I'm not interested in being talked at, but I'm happy to talk with.
Mm-hmm.
Then okay. But you also have a side to this. I remember I was talking to a really good friend who was talking about burned bridges, and they were saying, well, this person, it burned a bridge with you, and it was brought up that I also have the right to do that too. I also have the right to advocate for myself, and I have the right to go, you know what? I can choose what is and isn't toxic in my life, and what I do and don't want to allow in the conversations I do and don't want to have. And you do have the right to that. And so you can say, hey, it's not just on your time. It's not just in your language. If you're not going to have this conversation in a place where we're both going to meet and talk about this in a way that we're agreeing to talk about this, then let's talk about something else. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about TV
Mm-hmm.
shows or whatever the case may be, because if it's going to be something that's going to drive a wedge, and that it's not going to change, it genuinely might be fruitless. What I have found, though, is that living your life the best way that you can, continuing to be a good person and showing that slowly but surely changes people's views, because at least in my experience, the idea of being a good person is reflecting Christ. And so when you hear somebody saying, oh, this person is very Christ-like, they're very Christian, it's another word of saying they're a really good person. So if you can show you can be good without God,
Yeah.
those are ways that you can slowly start to chip away what's underneath there, and maybe someday have a conversation that's more fruitful.
Mm-hmm. I would ask
Because,
what your
go
ultimate.
ahead, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Sorry, my bad. I was.
That's okay. I just wanted to ask for maybe a little bit of clarification that would help. Is what is your end goal with these conversations with her? Is it fun to just kind of spar with your grandmother about topics? Is it more of a desire to maybe help her see your side of things, or to get her maybe out of the bubble that she's been living in? Or is it, what would be the purpose of these conversations about religion?
A little bit of both things you said. It is to me personally, and I plan on actually, since the topic of politics was brought up in the beginning, I actually do plan on running in the future sometime. But so I'm trying to get more into being able to debate correctly. So it's just fun to debate. But also at the same time, with my grandmother, I would like her to understand why it is I have the views I have. So so whenever I start bringing up things with her, and then she brings it back to God, and was like, "But I don't do that anymore." I want to be able to have the conversations with her, and let her see, like you said, let her see my view of it.
Yeah, and that is a very important distinction to make. There's a difference between debate and discussion. When you're having a debate, you see a formal debate, it's people taking turns talking at each other, and it's the audience who's getting something out of it. But you rarely have debaters, walking up and honestly listening to and engaging with each other, because the format's just not really there. You don't have the chance to ask clarifying questions during a debate, a formal debate. So having the conversation uses a lot more I statements. And there's a lot more questions and a lot more open engaging with things and following them where they go. And I do think that is a whole lot more fruitful. So while you might really enjoy debates, I think having
conversations with her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And to an extent, I think that there's, I don't want to use the term lost causes because that sounds very kind of condescending, and I don't mean for it to sound like that, but there are definitely people. Yeah, there is a level of understanding that you might be able to expect. I would say probably don't expect more than, oh, my grandchild is a good person and doesn't believe the way I do. If you can get there, then that's enough. Having her agree with you on epistemology or apologetics or philosophy is not important. If you want to debate those things, and you should if you want to, because I think it's a lot of fun. We do have a Discord that I know you probably find a lot of really awesome sparring partners in there who would be willing to take the devil's advocate side and maybe play in that role as well. So yeah, I think it kind of just echoing what Eric said, making that distinction between what is a debate and what is a discussion, and what your goals are for each. Because I think you have good goals. I think that they just can't all be met by having conversations with this one person, especially because you guys are close and you guys do love each other.
Definitely. And if you go back and watch this, the link to the Discord is under our video right now, tiny.cc/ACA Discord. And we are going to be hopping there after the show.
Yeah. So we may see you there.
Yeah. Thank you for calling in, man.
Awesome. Hey, thank you for letting me call in. First time caller and few months listener.
Thank you. Well, hopefully we can keep putting on good shows for you to watch. Take care, my man. Be safe out there.
You as well.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm ready to dive in. I know we've got to rapid fire these calls.
Yep.
Let's talk to Nikki. Nikki in Pennsylvania. You're live with Eric and V. You're on. Hi.
Hey. Did you ever watch Cosmos with Carl Sagan?
Yes.
Bits and pieces.
Did you ever watch a bit on a Flatlander creature? He can only perceive a third dimension. He can understand there's a presence of a third dimension, but he can never prove it. That could be like a god on the next step on. We're trapped in 3 dimensions, but there could be a 4th dimension that we can feel its presence, but we can never prove it's there.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. We can never prove it, but the dimension up, they can see us, but we can't perceive them.
Well, so
like Carl Sagan was saying.
Well, here's my argument. Here's my argument
What's
there.
that?
And just so that I can make sure that we're talking about the same thing, I'll bring up the that whole thing, right? So as a one-dimensional being, right, you're a point. When you get two dimensions, you have lines. But if you're living in a flat world, you could not understand a third dimension. You couldn't understand depth. And if I were to pick that two-dimensional creature up so that they could see their two-dimensional world in three dimensions, right? And then you plant them back down, they wouldn't have the vocabulary or understanding or ability to describe or explain what they saw, because that's not what they're at. And so the idea of, things that exist in that way, I totally get. Now, even if you were to do that though, right? If you were to have a three-dimensional object interact in a two-dimensional world, you would still have something that they could detect. I don't think we have any
there's
God detection.
things in life we can't detect.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that
there's
means
just
that you're just
things
claiming
like
the things that you don't know to be God, and that just makes the gods of the gaps.
hello.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
I'm saying other things like, we've been searching for extraterrestrial signals for 60 years. We haven't found anything.
What does that have to do with the God?
And we haven't found any evidence of extraterrestrial structures within the universe. So something's going on. Either we're the only ones, or life gets started and don't last long. I mean, there's evidence on both ways.
Not really. So the time to believe a thing is when there's evidence, and lack of evidence is not evidence, unless lack of evidence is expected.
Okay, then how did we get here? We're here, something happened.
We're here. What evidence do we have for God?
Well, something happened, I can't say if there's a God for sure or not. I just said I'm on the fence, I'm just saying.
Right. Absolutely. So the question is, Nikki, is if you don't know whether or not a God exists, let me give you a something analogous here. Do you know whether or not leprechauns exist?
Yeah, but we're trapped in the three-dimensional world.
Well, hold on a second.
Four-dimensional leprechauns?
Yeah, hold on a second. Do you?
No, we don't know what fourth dimension is, because we're trapped in a third dimension. We can't perceive a fourth dimension because we can't perceive, or we're trapped in three dimensions.
Nikki, I'm getting there. You just got to follow me here a little bit. Do you believe in leprechauns?
Leprechauns? I've never seen any. I know you're talking about the proof thing, but it's just theoretical,
Well, and so what?
A lot of astronomy is composed of a lot of stuff that they theorize, but like infinite regression in it, but it can't be proven.
You're just appealing to more and more mysteries. Mysteries aren't answers to other mysteries. It's just more mysteries.
Well, if you look at Carl Sagan's Cosmos, he has a lot of that stuff in there.
And there are a lot of wonderful things about the universe that we should explore. That doesn't mean that we should jump to answers. I'm not saying that you are a God believer. What I am saying is there are a whole lot of things in this world that we don't have evidence for. And the time to accept those things.
True, but I'm not saying.
Hold
Very
on.
true, but I'm not saying it's not possible.
Hold on. I'm not either, Nikki. What I'm saying is the time to believe it is when we have evidence. And until we have evidence, I think that when you wake up in the morning, right? When I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to act as if leprechauns exist just in case. I don't know, but just in case I will, right? Because then I'd have to do the same with every other kind of weird conspiracy.
There's no scientific basis behind that. At least Carl Sagan has it that could be possible. I mean,
in the same way that leprechauns.
Yeah, I guess it could be. You can have leprechauns, but
fourth dimensional leprechauns, like we said.
Exactly.
But the time to believe it is when there's evidence for it, and when we see it interacting in our world.
You can never prove it because we're stuck in three dimensions.
Well, then it's an unfalsifiable statement, and that's kind of where we have to leave that. If you can't prove or disprove a claim, then why believe in it?
Well, I believe in a lot of stuff Carl Sagan says. He's an interesting person.
Well, I agree that Carl Sagan was interesting. I don't think that Carl Sagan was saying the time to believe a thing is just because it could possibly happen. There are a lot of possibilities that we should explore, and that's wonderful. But the default should be, hey, the time to believe in a thing is when there's evidence for it. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's a really good way. That's right. Yeah, that's how we approach medicine.
We'll never find out. You know what? We'll
Not
never find
true.
out. Then.
Not true. Hopefully, I mean, just because we don't have the technology
none
right
of us
now.
knows why we're here. You know.
But that's an entirely different question. No, Nikki, you just completely deflected. I don't care why we're here. We weren't talking about why we're here. You just appealed to another mystery.
Mm-hmm.
No, we can talk about that if you want, but don't deflect. We're talking about things that we don't have evidence for, right? We don't have evidence for God right now.
We don't know everything. We hardly know anything.
I agree.
Going on in the universe.
I agree. And when there's evidence,
I understand your viewpoint, but I can understand, you know,
like the germ theory of disease, or any other scientific improvement, or anything. It's wonderful to dream and to hope and to try and to explore and to test those things around us to find out whether or not maybe it was a trick of the mind, or maybe there's something here. Let's find out if it's replicable and go from there. It's an incredible world that we're in, but we got to make sure that we are on the same page at the start, and that same page is the time to believe a thing is when there's evidence for it. And I think
I know you gotta watch. I watch Matt, and I watched the other show for years, and I know he always goes back to that. But it's hard. I have never seen anything spiritual, but I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, because.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, something happened. We're here,
Right, something happened.
I'd like to know too.
That. We're not saying we know what happened. We're not saying that we know what didn't happen necessarily. We aren't making a positive claim one way or the other. We're not saying spiritual things cannot possibly exist ever. So things do happen, and we don't understand why sometimes. And that's kind of we're on the same page with that. Hey, this is an unfalsifiable claim. We don't know. And that's kind of where we leave it. We don't know because we haven't been given evidence one way or the other.
And I do want to
say one more thing.
Sure. And actually, can I give you something else to respond to as well?
Yeah, that host you guys had on the Atheist Experience, she said Proxima Centauri. It's like she got everything wrong in astronomy. It's Proxima Centauri is 4.24 light years away from Earth, and everybody.
Nikki?
I mean, if she gets on there, she got to make a better representative on the subject. Research.
That's a different show, Nikki.
That's a different show.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah. So what I will say? Oh my gosh, I just did a Jamie. Okay.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from.
I'm glad. What I wanted to tell you is I'm looking at the live chat. And in the live chat, I do see a lot of people saying, hey, Nikki's really trying here. And I've got to agree. I think that you are approaching this in an honest and open way, and I commend you for it.
Yeah.
I think that the tool that you're using right now is one that should be looked at, because a lot of the responses that you gave were appealing to a mystery with a bigger mystery. And that's not how you answer things.
Yeah,
that's
there's
not
a lot of mystery.
Agreed.
It's like
mysteries aren't answers to other mysteries. We can sit and we can spout off a whole bunch of mysteries all day, but they're not answers to other mysteries.
Yeah, no.
They're not even necessarily connected to each other.
So you don't know.
That's true, but
you don't know is not.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about.
We agree. We agree. Anyway, thank you for calling in.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Have a good day then.
You too. Be safe. Happy Zombie Jesus Day.
Okay.
All right. So far, we've gotten a couple calls that, when we boil it down, we agree
Yeah, I think we've got someone we don't agree with now.
I would love to talk to somebody we don't agree with.
It looks like we have Gabriel in Barbados. Gabriel, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about today?
Hey, good afternoon, Eric and V.
Hello.
Good morning. Good afternoon. What would you like to talk about?
Okay, firstly, I'm a theist.
Okay.
I would like to say Christian. I like to refer to myself as a Christian.
Okay.
I obviously believe in God. Jesus is my God. I'm going to put all my cards on the table.
Cool.
I believe that the Bible is 100% true.
Okay.
I am not an apologist.
Okay.
I was once, no, let me go down that road. Just let me get straight to the point.
Yeah.
I want to discuss where you guys believe or accept the things that you believe. Let me give an example. Right?
Sure.
You guys do not assert. I'm going to ask you questions. I don't want to assume. You don't assert to know where life came from, correct?
Yeah, that's called abiogenesis. And there are things that we understand that could possibly get us there. But to the best of my knowledge, and mind you, we're just lay people.
Right.
I don't think we have any certainty about it. No.
But do you accept that as where life could come from? Do you think it possible, for example, do you think it possible that life could also have come from life? Do you think that's possible?
Well, technically, we have to define what we're talking about when we mean life, right?
and abiogenesis. If life came from life, then that was not abiogenesis. You're just pushing you're just pushing the goalposts, right? Whatever that life came from, that would be abiogenesis. I mean, when you already have life and now you're continuing creating more life, that's when we talk about evolution and speciation. But if you want to talk about the beginning of life, that is abiogenesis.
Right.
I'm speaking about the beginning of life in this current natural universe as we know it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Our best guess as people, scientists' best guess is that abiogenesis is the best option for how life began on this planet. And there are different versions of how that could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, abiogenesis is just the descriptor of life having begun. And yeah.
So if I say that I am a Christian and I believe that there is a God, say I never read the Bible before. I, Gabriel, say I believe there is a God because I believe that all life came from another life source.
Then you would be
an actual life source. What would you say? Would you say that
we would I'd say we're no longer talking about abiogenesis.
No, for sure. I don't think we're trying to. I think that my next question, Gabriel, would be, how do you define life? Because my understanding of life as a definition, as a concept, is purely physical. It's a chemical process. It's a biological state. And I don't think that your version of God, or I'm assuming, again, I don't want to assume, does your version of God have a biological state and is formed through chemical processes?
You see, guys, you are applying your definition to life and then asking me if you understand what you're giving me your definition for life.
Right. Yes. So what's your definition?
Asking me if that is right. So no, life to me is how should I put this?
If you've got something going on in the background, possibly the stream or something, we're picking up the audio from something else going on in the background.
Is it clearer?
You're coming in clear. It's just it sounded like there was something coming in, maybe a TV that you had on in the back or a radio or something.
I had the computer was on next to me. I wasn't using it. It was just something. It wasn't the YouTube channel or anything. It was just something else. It was very low, though. I didn't know you guys could possibly pick that up.
Yeah, we've got some pretty good equipment. No worries. Go ahead, man. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. What's your definition of life?
No, my definition for life is I don't even know that. My definition of life has to be, I don't know. All I could say is God himself. I can't think of anything else.
So you're saying
Because
you're equating life with God? If I'm alive, does that mean I'm God?
no,
Okay,
the
so there's
source
a
of it.
difference there, right? So being alive is
Because
different from being God. How are they different?
all right, let me see if we get to the root. If something causes something else, correct? Or do we have any evidence that something can just appear?
Well, that's a very good question for cosmologists, which I am not. To our best
No, but I mean,
understanding,
it is known. It is. I'm not trying to be deceitful or tricky. I think it's
things come from other things, as
I
far
can't-
as we can tell, to the extent that we experience
Yes.
them. But that's not to say that that is the only way things could possibly be. It's just the way we are seeing things right now.
Are you talking about
no,
like a
but
frog popping out of
once you. I can't hear you, Eric. Say that again.
Oh, sorry. Are you talking about like a frog popping out of midair? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like something just like popping out of midair. Does that ever
Okay.
happen? Is that? As long as those
mean,
viewers think that
sounds,
is possible, it could happen tomorrow.
It sounds very silly. And I definitely don't have that viewpoint. Do you have that viewpoint? Do you believe that all life just popped into existence here on the earth?
No, I don't think that.
No, did God put life on the
What
earth?
I'm trying to get at is that.
Hold on, I actually think that you do think everything popped into life.
If you go by the Genesis account,
Yeah.
then
So
yeah,
explain to me what you think that I think that all things popped into life.
I'm asking you, do you think that everything popped into existence here on Earth?
No.
Okay, how did it get here?
It was made.
Well, sure. Did God have like a workshop where he just kind of worked on them and sculpted them and made them and like or did God just pop them into existence?
Well, he claimed that he spoke it into existence.
Okay, yeah, that's popping them into existence.
This is the thing.
That's very silly.
No, it is not. See, you are. All right. The only way for there to be anything, if we put the universe in a bottle, there has to be something outside of the universe. Can we? The universe is material.
Okay.
It is time, space, and matter.
And energy. We've gone over this a couple times. Why? Why does there need to be more than that?
If there's nothing outside of the universe, then there are only two options to the creation of the universe. There's not three. There's only two. The two options are one, the universe, something caused the universe outside of the universe of itself, or the universe, something inside of the universe created it. And there are only two options. There's nothing else. And you have to tell me now, as an atheist, which one of those options seem more, you guys like to use the term logical. Which one seems more logical or scientific to you?
Right. Here,
with all the evidence that we have gathered over the years.
Here's
which
the
one
thing.
is more logical and scientific?
I got you, Gabriel. I don't know about you, but I've gone to a whole lot of seminars by people who really, really wanted to get me into pyramid schemes. Things like, doTERRA. You've got groups that want to sell things like essential oils, and so they have all of these very, very scientific sounding explanations that whether or not a thing sounds scientific doesn't make it real, doesn't make it true, and doesn't mean that it's something that you should follow. Whether or not it sounds better, I don't care. I just want to know what is and what isn't. And I think that until we find out, the right answer is I don't know. What I'm going to say is I don't know.
Also, it's a false
going with what sounds good.
The universe could have created itself.
Hello?
Hello,
Hey.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's also a false dichotomy. Assuming that the universe has to be created by something else. What if the universe just created itself?
Show me something. You guys use evidence, you use logic, you use science. Show me one example of anything that ever created itself.
The universe.
Just one, and I would believe.
No, hold
okay.
on. No.
Okay,
show
fine,
me the
good enough.
process. No, show me the process. Show me how it's done. Show me how it's done.
That's the whole thing we're
I want
asking
evidence.
you, dude.
Yeah, you called in to talk to us and tell us what to do.
Our answer is we don't know.
And it's very telling that you call into a show that doesn't have. If you want the answers to these questions, man, they're out there. They really, really are. You just got to look, and you got to talk to people who have done studies on this and have degrees in this. The fact that two lay people can't explain to you exactly how the universe came into existence is not proof of your claim. That's just simply not how that works. I'm willing to say I don't know. I don't have the training. I know for a fact that people who have the training don't know for sure. So, but they can probably give you a better answer than we can.
And ultimately, because we're saying I don't know, that doesn't make you more correct. It just means that you say you have an answer. We're not saying we have an answer, dude. We're listening to you who says that you do.
Right.
You do think you have an answer, right? Your answer is that God spoke it into existence. Is that correct?
That is my belief.
Okay. Can anybody speak a thing into existence? Can I do it? Can I speak a frog into it? Just
yes.
pop
In
it
the
into
history
existence?
of this world, have you seen someone speak a physical thing into existence?
Well, yesterday, I said that I would call into the atheist experience today, and I did.
I don't think you understand the difference between a conversation and speaking a thing into it. Like I can't speak in a physical thing into existence. You're now dodging.
Yeah.
Let's try that again.
No, I'm trying to be as clear and as honest as possible. If the universe is material, it doesn't matter how big it is. It doesn't matter how small it is. It is material.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a cup in front of you, the universe abides by the same laws that the cup in front of you abides by. It does not change.
I mean, it
is material. It does not change. The laws of material things or the matter of this universe does not change.
So,
well, that's actually not.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, we're still learning a whole lot about the universe that we're in. But how does that back up your claim? You're trying to convince us that a God created it, and you're telling me that the universe.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
If you look at the cup in front of you or a pen, it abides by the same laws. Natural things abide by the same laws of physics, whether it is the rate of the thing or the size of it or how fast it falls or how fast it runs on water, or the laws, they remain the same. Whether a certain amount of gravity is applied to it or not, laws are simply laws, and things abide by those laws. Why do you all believe, because the universe is something so vast and big outside of ourselves, that it then has to behave differently to the bottle that is in front of you? If you do that, then you're already presupposing something that has never been proven. What has been proven is all matter reacts the same way to all other tests. The laws of physics and science and chemistry, and they do not change. So the universe falls into the same category as the cup that is on your table.
We're going to be really charitable and say that you mean something a whole lot better than what you said. Because that's not remotely true.
No. So are you trying?
It's not remotely true.
The boiling point of water is different than the boiling point of mercury.
Because the boiling point of mercury is the boiling point of mercury, and that is a constant. That's what I'm saying.
Which is what we're being charitable
water,
about.
Mercury is mercury, but they react the same way. It remains a constant. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's never mind.
Oil. What I'm saying
so
is that the laws,
things are the way things are, and things are predictable
exactly
the same way in the future. So what?
If you have a cup, if you have a cup in front of you, you knew that the cup did not appear. The same thing applies for the universe. Anything that is material has never yet appeared.
But you're making that claim.
As far as all this, So
You
tell me
realize-
a scientist that has claimed something else or proved something else.
Again,
It is a
we're not
concept that has
talking.
never-
No. Stop. Hold on. Your argument should not be prove me wrong or I'm right. Is that how that works? Can we do that in other
No,
places
those
in our
are
life?
facts.
Hey, I'm
I'm
right
giving you
unless you
facts.
prove it wrong. Is that how that works? No, you actually
But those-
provide evidence for your
but no,
claim because you're saying, no, hold on, that things don't just pop into existence. Therefore, your God popped everything into existence. That makes zero sense. Not only does that make zero sense, but I don't know how you don't see that as being the exact same claim. Literally, we're saying, I don't know. And I don't know how you would say that you've got the better shot at this.
Also, if we're going by things need
What
to be
I'm saying-
constant, God didn't create this cup by speaking it into existence, and yet here it is. Where does that constance go now?
All things in the natural universe
Oh, special
that
pleading.
we live in.
Cool.
No, I never, from the beginning, I said natural universe. That was one of my second or third sentences that I said. The natural universe that we live in abide by certain laws.
Can you tell me about the unnatural universe?
If there is a universe, a natural universe, something has to necessarily exist outside of it to follow the law of the universe. It has to follow.
I don't know where you're going with this.
It has never been. What I'm saying is that something has to exist outside of the current universe that we live in. The natural
That
universe.
doesn't even
we
make
live
sense, dude. Now we're going in
Something-
circles. So we've been on this call. We've got a bunch of others. But
in. All right, take the other
Something-
calls. I don't
so
think that.
yeah, you're saying something has to exist outside of this universe, although I don't even know if that makes any sense at all.
And not even the fact that
There's something has to exist outside of the cup on the table.
and our 8 brains that were created to survive on this planet.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
why does the fact that it's not logical or sensical to us have any bearing on what actually it is like billions of years in the past?
It's
But what I'm doing is I'm just stating facts. I'm saying things that have been tested,
You're
proven,
making
and demonstrated.
claims,
That
and
is
then
the
you're
meaning
asking
of
us
science.
to refute them. That's not how that works. You are the one making the claim. You bring the evidence to us. We don't have to disprove
I need-
the claim.
So what you're saying is that I have to bring evidence to you to show you that the
Yes.
cup on your table cannot pop into existence. That's what you're saying.
No, we're saying that if you are going to argue that a god popped things into existence, you have to bring evidence of that, and then we can have a good conversation. But until then, we're kind of stuck at we're saying we don't know, and you're saying therefore I'm right.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for calling from
I don't think
Barbados.
that's
We
what
know
I'm
that
saying,
it
but
costs
yeah, go
a good amount of money.
take the other calls. That's fine.
Thank you for calling in, though. We do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, no problem.
You know what that makes me think of is all of those others. You know, before time,
Mm-hmm.
this happened. How could so before and after imply time?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're talking about before time existing, that makes zero sense.
Right. I just honestly, I get annoyed at the people who call in expecting to be refuted or have expecting us to give scientific refutations to claims. We are not scientists. We've never passed ourselves off as scientists. We are
No.
very upfront that we are not scientists. If you want this information, if you're claiming, all I need is some information, I just need somebody who is qualified to tell me about this. You have access to that, I'm assuming. If you're calling in to this show, then you have an internet connection, right? You can go and actually find people who are skilled and who are professional in this area. And I, for one of the biggest things that I had to learn when I was deconverting is I can very much not have the answers to things. And it's better for me and for everyone in the conversation, instead of pretending I know everything, to say, hey, I'm not an expert in this. Go over here, talk to this person. They know more about it than I do.
Agreed. I just want to say post ghost in the live chat. gave the perfect, I think, title for what this clip should be: Zero Gods, One Cup. That's fantastic. You know what? Before we hop into a couple of the calls, I want to thank the patrons before we run out of time. I am refreshing it right now. If you like what we do, you want to support it, consider going to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. We understand that it is a rough time for everybody, and that is totally understood. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families. That is far more important. If you can't, become a patron, consider going to iTunes, leaving a good review, sharing this out on social media, getting the word out, because the more we can be, in front of people, the more people can engage with us, and we can grow that audience and grow this community. In the meantime, I want to thank our top 5 patrons: Gary, Charlotte, Bethany, Desert Heathen, and it looks like we have a tie for 5th place. We have RAO and Mr. Weedwacky. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for your patronage, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Again, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. We seriously appreciate it. I'm thinking Mohammed in Jordan.
Wow, some awesome international calls.
Yeah, Mohammed, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about today?
Hello, Eric and V. How are you doing?
You're doing okay. How are you?
Caffeinated, excited. I've got humans.
Interaction.
Yes.
Very nice to talk to you, finally. I tried to call several times, and finally the call went through, because our line's a bit congested here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for waiting on the line and calling in.
Yeah, I mean, just so people know.
Thank you. I want to say I think your show is very good show, and your show, it is very open-minded, and I think this is very important for the growth of humanity.
Aww, I got the warm fuzzy.
And it is. And excuse me if my English is not very good. I try my best.
You're doing good so far.
You're doing great. And I do just want to say again, calling from Jordan, and our last caller, dude, you've been waiting on the line for 46 minutes. And usually we have a toll-free number that people call on. You have been picking this up to talk to us, and same with our last caller. So we just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
So what did you want to talk about?
Thank you. Well, actually, I want to talk to you about my religion is Islam.
Okay.
And I believe Islam is the true religion.
So
it is the correct religion.
Just so you know, Mohammed, I don't have a whole lot of experience talking to Muslims. So you're going to have to be a little patient with me.
Sure, of course.
I've read the books, and it got me nowhere. I tried reading them. I tried talking to people, and what I was able to get was very confusing. So, but I promise I'm going to bring the same amount of logic and reasoning that I can.
Of course. Well, first of all, it is the final, Quran is the final book out of the three religions, the Torah and the Bible, and the Quran is the final one.
According to you.
This is, right? Yes. So this suggests that it is probably the correct one.
Why?
Because it came to correct it corrects the previous two books.
But what about the Book of Mormon?
No, the Book of Mormon is made by somebody who is a liar.
Yeah, but people say the same thing about your book. How do we tell the difference?
He deceived the people.
People say the same thing about your book.
He deceived all the peoples. It's a made-up religion.
People say the same thing about your religion. How do we tell the difference?
Well, if you read the Quran with an open mind, if you read the religion with an open mind, you will probably come to that conclusion.
Did you know that Mormon missionaries, if you were to ask them that question, they have the same answer? They say, well, here's how you can tell. You pray on it and you read, and if you ask in faith, God will show himself to you and you will know that the Book of Mormon is true. It sounds the same. So far, I don't know how to tell the difference between you guys. Could you help me maybe with a little bit more? I know that there are
Yes, but
supernatural
I mean,
things.
Mormon, he himself, he claimed, he wrote the things himself. He wrote the Bible himself. I don't know very much about the Mormon guy. His name is something Joseph Murphy or something.
Joseph Smith. I'm Eric Murphy. Eric Murphy wrote the Book of Eric. Joseph Smith wrote the Book of Mormon.
No, sorry. Joseph Smith, or so, yes. And it was recent, and he wrote. He was like a trickster kind of man, and he made the Bible. What he claimed to be the Bible, he wrote it himself.
Actually, he said that they were copied from. He actually said that they were divinely inspired and copied from golden plates that were written by early people that were visited by Jesus. You have the story of the Nephites and actually you have tons and tons of peoples. You have tons and tons of miracle claims. You have wars. You have all kinds of stuff. I mean,
You mean by Joseph Smith? His name is Joseph Smith, right?
Yes, but he was visited by Moroni. There's a ton of stuff that happened. But regardless, I don't want to take away from you talking about Islam. But I do want to say that the evidence that you've given so far is the exact same evidence that I get from Mormons. And so if I can't tell the difference, then where do I go from there?
But you didn't read the Quran, and you didn't really look into the Quran before judging it.
So can you give me a good reason to? And I will tell you that I did. I really did try and read, and I read a good amount of and it was very difficult and I read a lot of holy books, man.
And also when you read it, when it is translated, because it was written in the correct language, which is the Arabic, and when you translate it into like another language, for example, English or something, it loses some meaning.
See, we're both
but
Christians.
that is not the most important point.
No, actually, it is important because we can relate. We can relate. We said the same thing about the Bible,
right,
as Christians.
And then the question kind of became, well, if this God is powerful enough to be the one true God, why is God stymied in giving his message to people by human languages? It should be just as powerful in any language if God is powerful enough and wants people to find the true message, right?
But God doesn't speak God language. He doesn't have his own language. He must speak the language of the peoples.
Why?
So that they can understand him.
I mean, could God do that if he wanted to? Like, if God wanted to speak so that everyone in every language could hear him at the same time, could God do that, or is God impotent in that way?
You mean so that he can speak so that everybody, so that he can speak in everybody's language, like he can speak, so that he can speak the Quran in Arabic and for the Arab people, and in English for the English people, and in Sri Lankan for the Sri Lankan people, and Japanese for the Japanese people, etc.
Well, actually, so there's a book that I absolutely love, and it only takes me a second. Hitchhiker's Guide, there's this thing called the Babel fish, and you put it in your ear, and no matter what language you speak, the other person just understands it. So what if God just spoke a language, but because they have the ability, everyone could understand what that God is saying? Doesn't matter what it was, just everybody could understand. Could God do that?
He could, I mean, because by definition he is very strong, and I mean, obviously by definition he can, like what in English they say, omnipotent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So by definition he can.
So why
Okay.
doesn't he? Which is
so why doesn't he? I think I see the point in the sense that it will make it easier.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I really wanted to get
if
to
that
know,
is the point, it does make it easier.
yeah, if I really wanted to know all about Islam and convert and become a Muslim myself, but I only speak English, and if the Quran is written perfectly in Arabic, or better in Arabic, and loses some of the message when translated to English, doesn't that put me as an English speaker at a disadvantage and potentially not being able to convert? Wouldn't God not want that to be the case?
But there are so many people, like English people and American people, they all convert to Islam, especially now.
I mean,
surprisingly big numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a saying: if all of your friends jumped off a bridge, would you jump too? I mean, just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean it's right. What if I were to say that the people are just becoming Mormon in huge numbers? Would that be convincing for you to convert to Mormonism? I think there's a house.
If everybody started converting, let me think. If everybody started converting to Mormonism, no, because I think Mormonism is, sorry, excuse me for the word, but I think it is stupid.
No, that's okay. So the thing is when you said everybody's converting to Islam, do you see how that equates for us?
Well, I think his point here was to reference my question.
Oh, okay, I see. If you mean, okay, I see. So yeah, okay. So you mean to say if everybody is converting to something, it doesn't mean necessarily it is a good thing. So like if everybody is drinking Coca-Cola, it doesn't mean it is good for you.
Exactly.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Or everybody like watching Netflix like 8 hours a day. It doesn't mean it's good.
And also doesn't mean it's, so you can also say that about true things, right? If I got a whole bunch of people to repeat a lie, that doesn't make it true. It just means that it's popular. And there's a name for it. It's called ad populum.
Yes. I mean, you said this is about not the true things, but about the true things, maybe it is different.
So you think that the more people believe a thing, the more true it is?
The more people believe the true things. Actually, I remember watching you guys, you and the atheist experience, and you mentioned you and the atheist experience. I remember you were mentioning something which was a bit funny. They said there came a time when the majority of the people, they thought that the earth was flat.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that the earth was flat.
Right, exactly.
Wonderful. That
Mohammed. I think I know. I understand where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that the reason
I see the argument. I see the argument, how you're taking the argument, but I still want to come back to the point that I mean, the Quran is the miracle of the Prophet Muhammad. It is the miracle. Like, Jesus, he has the miracle of walking on water and turning water into wine and that kinds of things, and the empty tomb and rising, the resurrection and that kind of stuff. We don't believe the resurrection, by the way. I think we think it is corrupted in the books.
Well,
but
you know about the 12 labors of Hercules, right? That was a big thing that Hercules did. Do you believe in Hercules?
Hercules is the Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it is mythology.
We think yours is mythology as well, and we think the Christians is mythology. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's not just against you. It's all religions. Where we look at those holy books and those stories, and we go, "Wow, those are some great mythological stories."
Well, right. The reason back when the story of Heracles was invented, it was a religion. And some people still do consider the Greek pantheon, the Greek gods, to be real and to worship them. So kind of the difference between religion and mythology is just that mythological gods aren't worshipped as much anymore. So it was a religion at the time, and it's just because that religion has kind of fallen out of favor, do we call it mythology now? From our viewpoint, the idea, the stories about gods, the stories about supernatural events and miracles are valuable cultural references and really beautiful stories sometimes, but we consider all of it to be of the same, cut from the same cloth, of that mythological cloth. It's just that right now, some people happen to believe very strongly in certain mythologies. And our question in general for you is, how do we tell the difference between other religions that are mythology and yours, which you are saying is the true religion?
Yes. Sorry if I pronounce the word, your name. Is it V or Y?
It is V. You are correct.
Mm-hmm.
V. I'm sorry. V. Can I just one footnote?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if my friends and family see me on this episode,
Mm-hmm.
they will be very, very surprised, because I talk about this question. I am almost questioning I'm discussing the existence or the about Islam, and I am agreeing to discuss the possibility that Islam is. I'm agreeing to even debate the possibility of Islam being not completely 100% true, and they might not like me so much, in our country.
My family also would not
America,
like it if they saw me. So
yeah, in fact,
so in America, I think I salute you so much for your openness.
And we do the same back to you, even though we're on a different side. The fact that you should, I mean, I can tell you, when I was a believer, the idea, God gave you a brain, you should use it, is important. And I wound up coming to the realization that I don't think a God exists at all. But the idea of a thought crime, or the idea that you could be punished for thinking, is one that's rough, man. And we got to take our hats off to you and say, hey, you know what? We really appreciate that you're engaging. So cheers to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Eric. Yes, I understand that you should not be punished, for example, like you said, for example, thought crime. I mean, thought is not a crime. You cannot, thought is never a crime, because you don't hurt anybody.
Oh, but that was a crime.
Thought is never a crime.
Oh my gosh. If in my faith, if you so much as looked at a woman with lust in your heart, you have committed adultery. Like that was.
Yes, I know that from the Bible. I know that, and we have in the Quran. We have some things in the Quran, and we have also some things in the Quran. To be honest, and I also now I risk to be like I don't know. I'm not sure that I don't think many people in Jordan. I don't think many people in Jordan listen to the program, so I'm going to risk to be ridiculed. So there are many things in the Quran that I disagree with. You know, like for example, look, and they're very similar to the Bible. For example, like stoning of adultery. For example, we have. Maybe you don't know this one. If, for example, the wife does not agree to have sex with the husband can hit her. This is actually written in the Quran. I don't know if you knew this one.
I've heard of that.
So this one is not a good one, of course. And also, I actually also don't agree. Also, where the problem comes, and I watch your program, I see how you try to have the influence, or you have the idea of the separation of church and state. Of course, we have like the analogy is we have, I'm sure you heard of the law of Sharia.
Mm-hmm.
Sharia is the law of Islam. Now, the law in Jordan, it has some remains of the Sharia. So, for example, the inheritance of the son and daughter, it is prescribed by law. And the daughter gets half of the amount of the son.
Yeah.
And I believe it is not fair.
No, Mohammed?
Even though I'm a male, I will get the double. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Mohammed?
I think it is not fair. For example, for my sister to get half of what I get, like inheritance. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is just a divergence from the main issue.
I want to talk to you for hours.
Yes.
Can I? So if I put you back on hold to talk to our call screener, I would love to get your information to talk to you off air. Or
ideally in a way that is toll free as well.
Yes, something that we can connect with on the internet and have a conversation, because I would love to have this talk more in depth.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for calling in, sir. I'm going to pop you back in and ask our call screener to get information, something that will not put you in any kind of danger. I'd love to continue to have this conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who are we talking to next?
Let's take David in Australia.
Wow, it is a super international show. David in Queensland. You're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Hello, V.
Yes, hi. Sorry, there might be a slight lag. So if there's a little bit of a wait between when I answer, that's probably what's going on.
No worries. We've kind of been dealing with it all day. So you're good, my friend. What would you like to talk about?
I wanted to talk about fairness, how I think fairness is very important, and fairness in association with how God deals with us.
Okay. Please elaborate.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
So I think that that God is fair in the way that He deals with us in the situation that we're. That He's tried to have us in the first place, and also in our final destination.
So there are a couple things that you're wrapping in there But we want to meet you where you're at, and so I think that I'm willing to, for the sake of having this argument, put down the whether or not that God exists at all, because I actually don't think that God is necessarily very fair at all, especially if do you believe in heaven and hell?
Yes, I do believe in the concepts of heaven and hell.
Okay. So
What does hell look like
yeah.
to you? Because I know different denominations, it looks different.
Yes, hell, that's a good question. Hell is a one-time event at the end of time, after everyone has had their time in court, where people cease to exist. They are annihilated.
Okay, so you're an annihilationist. Interesting. Why do you take that particular interpretation of hell?
Because I believe that is what the Bible teaches for both hell, and also I don't believe that the Bible teaches that body and spirit are two separate things.
Ooh.
Interesting.
So what part of you gets tortured in hell if you don't think body and spirit are two separate things? Because I mean, we could go to a graveyard and dig somebody up and, find what's left. I'm confused, but very intrigued.
Yes, so I would believe that the body is the life support system of the brain, and the brain is the seat of the mind. So that once we die, the brain ceases to function, therefore we cease to exist.
Right. I'm with you so far. Where do we get mind or spirit from then?
Well, we can talk about spirit and body. We can differentiate or distinguish between the two of them, but we can't separate them, because the mind is a phenomenon of the physical brain. It's the electrical impulses in the brain that give us the ability of being self-aware and conscious.
So what goes to hell?
The entire person, because we can't separate body and spirit. If the body dies, the spirit, our mind ceases to exist, because our mind depends upon the brain functioning correctly. Destroy one part of the brain, and we lose that functionality. I think adequately demonstrates that the mind is a function of the brain.
So you know that there are people whose bodies have rotted away. I mean, Tupac's friends smoked him. How do we get that part back? To torture it? Like, I don't understand. At what point do you think that they're currently empty graves right now, or do you think that, like, how do we get there?
Well, Tupac's friend would have ceased to exist, so he doesn't exist. So he's neither in heaven nor in hell. He has ceased to exist at this time.
Okay, because annihilationism.
Okay, so.
But okay, so
so there is no hell.
Right. The concept of hell apparently is a one-time physical event that then leads to annihilationism. And honestly, like, if we're talking about fairness, annihilationism is more fair than eternal torment. We still run into problems of, okay, prove it exists. But okay. I guess my next question for you would be then, kind of going off what you were saying about the mind being an emergent property of the brain. And if you damage a part of the brain, that it affects your ability to believe or to accept or to comprehend the gospel. That is a physical incapability on your part because your brain has been altered in some way. Would God still annihilate you for that physical inability? Would that be fair?
I can't say whether that will be the case or not. I would say that the decision would have to be one that is fair. Perhaps the person's life would have to be taken into account before that event, Surely there's some fair way of resolving that. I'll have to say I don't know.
Okay. Well, we like the answer. I don't know. We think that it's a hard answer to give, but a good one. It seems to me, and this is just me kind of spitballing coming from, I think we agree on a lot. I think that we agree that nothing happens to you after you die and you do technically cease to exist. We just don't think that there's a choice or a punishment aspect to it. It's not like you can choose to not exist or not. I also am an annihilationist in the sense that I also think that we are purely physical beings that cease to exist after death. In terms of whether or not it's fair and whether or not God is fair, if you're going to be equating, well, whatever God would decide would have to be fair, that feels a little bit unfalsifiable to me. And so I definitely want to dig more into that. Unfortunately, we are 4 minutes away from a hard stop.
And we've got announcements and everything.
Yeah. So we are going to have to ask you to call back or perhaps move to the Discord, because we are going to be having Discord conversation after this.
Mm-hmm.
And that link should be at the bottom of the screen. That's tiny.cc/ACA Discord. But yeah, I want to thank you for calling in. I think that we agree on a lot. And I'm, for one, very interested to continue this conversation.
Definitely.
When possible.
It's tragic. We've got you and we've got a whole bunch of callers that are sitting
so
on.
Many good callers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 callers who are, this is heartbreaking. Dude, thank you for calling in. And we're so sorry that we didn't have enough time. But yeah, please call back.
Yes, thank you. And I'll come on to Discord.
Perfect.
Sounds
good.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. All right. So before we wrap things up, I do want to see if we can go back to the crew cam, because our amazing crew should not be there. Actually, they should be remotely operating those computers. But if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Right? Look at that. That is so. Oh, look at that.
Remote
okay.
Operation. I like it.
Vern is moving things around remotely just to show off the fact that he can do it. I love it. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. Thank you. We want to thank our patrons. We want to thank everybody for sticking around. We got 2.6 thousand people watching right now and 53 upvotes. But why though?
Guys.
Please? I'm going to be moving in the next week, so we're going to see how that goes. But I am going to do my best to be on again next week. For all of the rest of you, are you ready to throw up some love rings?
Yeah, let's see if we can do this.
All right, I'm getting ready, and
nice.
That was pretty good.
That was good.
I like it. So, I really don't mind so long as we've got this pandemic to say to freaking everyone, for those of you who are doing essential services,
yes,
who are putting yourselves out there. My little sister's working in a hospital right now and is pregnant and is working so hard. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's genuinely putting themselves in danger to keep things going. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. To those of you who don't believe, I know that it may seem absolutely wild that, so many of us are at home, stuck either by ourselves or with conservative family members who are driving us nuts. You're not alone, and I know it might feel that way. We've got the Discord that we're going to be hopping into, and there are a lot of places that we're meeting. There are a lot of other shows and amazing friends of the shows. We've got Godless Bitches coming up soon. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And for those of you who maybe are starting to question things in places that are dangerous for you to do so, we're here for you too.
Absolutely. But to those of you who do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. See you next week.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.